This message is for Star Commander Solara's eyes only. Star Commander, I come to you with a request. A request that I do not take lightly, but a request that will benefit us both. Before I can give you this request, however, I feel it necessary to explain to you why this request is so vastly important. I must help you to understand the pain it brings to me. I have been ruler of this galaxy for millions of years. I protected it from threats too great for my people to understand. I used my near-omnipotent powers only for their protection and to maintain the stability of my leadership. I have had to make tough decisions, and I have not always made the correct decision, but my people were safe, and they were happy. At the end of the day, that's all that mattered to me. They didn't always understand my choices, but they didn't need to. That was my concern. Of course, I had opposition, speculation of what my true motives were, but it was nothing I couldn't deal with. Besides, it was a lot better than how the galaxy used to be. Millions of years ago, before I was crowned king, we had no monarchy. There was only the Prophecy Lords, a race from Irisal, the planet of eyes. They were masters of the future, able to predict and somewhat control what will happen. They were manipulators, deceiving people into giving unto them absolute power and control over their societies. Every planet they visited, they would descend like gods from the heavens upon a helpless race and indoctrinate them into their ways. And how could they say no? They were all-powerful beings who could predict the future, clothed in shimmering and majestic material. There was no other answer but to submit. And while it is true that they did keep the peace, the price for their peace was the fear in loyalty. They made prophecies that would tell people what to do and how to avoid disasters. Sometimes they were fair, saving a village of people from an avalanche, or teaching a moral lesson, kindness, to save themselves a bloody civil war. But most prophecies led to panic. The Prophecy Lords did not like when a race, such as the Ralicons, adapted too quickly, because they knew that in time, they would be surpassed, and their rule would end. So, they would send down a prophecy telling the Ralicons that their materials would come alive and attack them, if they did not burn all the metal they had, and got all other supplies from trade vessels. The Ralicons tore themselves to shreds to get rid of all the metal they could find. People with limb enhancements and replacements, and other such metal parts torn apart by their own kind, out of pure fear. Would their materials have come alive? No one can say, because the Ralicons succeeded at the cost of their own lives. Then, more than 10 billion years ago now, they created a new prophecy and echoed it across the galaxy. This prophecy was the worst one they made. I can still hear the words. To achieve peace throughout, a game must be played. One of each race will play for the right to rule over the galaxy. If a ruler is not crowned by the dawn of the Landstar's child, we shall be inevitably destroyed. My race, the Mortans, whose devotion to the Prophecy Lords was absolute, did not know how to choose for this, expecting that the Prophecy Lords themselves would choose for them. But instead, there was no response from them. We were given nothing. So we chose the best way we knew how. Through chance. And, as it just so happens, that winner was me. I was just a child, already unable to control what was happening around me. Fate, as it seemed, had new plans for me. I fought back against my people, kicking and screaming, as I was branded with the symbol of the crown. That symbol has long since faded, but the pain, it is still as sharp as ever. This death game, translated into your tongue, would be called Galactic Highlander. Essentially, we would be forced to kill each other until only one remained. That one would become king of our galaxy. We were made immortal by some ungodly power granted unto us by the prophecy lords. The only thing that could kill me was another like me, branded with the symbol of the crown. The symbol of the crown granted us one power, and we would attain others through killing each other. As a child, my first instinct when thrown into this life and death scenario, with all these brave, strong, and capable warriors, was to run. I tried to run home, but my family wanted nothing to do with me. They begged me to leave, to never return. I had never seen such pitiful behavior from my own family. I wanted to scream in anger, to beat them for their idiocy. But on this rare occasion, I did what I was told. Maybe it was out of fear, compassion, pity, or guilt, or a combination of all. Regardless, I left. I snuck onto a transport ship in hopes that it could get me to a place where I could hide. I found myself on a backwater planet along the rim of the galaxy, on a world called Salem. I made a camp on the outskirts of the local village. There, I was a child thief. I would take whatever I wanted, leaving only scraps, perhaps out of bitterness. I would get into trouble, but I would always find a way to escape. I had become quite clever at it as well. Then one day I was captured by the village guards and taken to a hospital. I was dragged to one of the rooms where the mayor stood waiting. He grabbed me by the arm and held me out to a man lying in the bed of the room. The man was, like me, bearing the symbol of the crown. He was injured severely after his last kill, and my power, healing quickly, would help him greatly. All he had to do was take his sword and slice it through my neck. I was a gift from the mayor to this man. The man took one look at me, and without a second thought said, "I only kill what I can fight. This child is not worth my blade." At the time of hearing this, I was furious with everyone and everything. I cursed him out. I cursed everyone out, broke free and ran. Looking back, it was inspiring to see such a man forced into a situation, but showing honor regardless. He knew that I was branded, but he chose not to kill me. He chose to stick to his principles, to do what he believed was right. This man was Teak Nart, and he became my teacher, and in time, my best friend. At first, it was only to train me to be ready to die, but Teak developed a fondness for me, a fondness he regretted constantly, given our situation. At least one of our deaths was inevitable, and he knew that the longer we would go on, the more we became friends, the more painful it would get. On top of that, I was refusing to kill anyone, giving Teak Nart the final blow. He hated that I would do this, but I didn't want to kill anyone. He held back all the powers I gave to him, because he did not feel he deserved them. Finally, he realized that he had no choice but to finish what he originally set out to do with me. Our battle was not as epic as one might think, not like the others. It was heavy with emotion, but it was quiet, reserved, the way a duel would be fought. Not with earth-shattering power, but straight, honest combat. Despite all the power he had, I was able to outsmart him. I couldn't look at him as I dealt the final blow. His last words to me before he died were to never show weakness to anyone, even to those who were my friends. From that day onward, I carried Teak's sword and mantle and slew my way through countless enemies. As much as I hate to admit it now, killing friends or people who merely wanted to help their families was just as easy. But at some point I had to ask myself, Why? What was the point of all this death and destruction? To choose a king? Why did we need a king? We were doing just fine without one. I soon realized that the prophecy lords were behind all of this. The death and destruction that they claimed to be preventing was happening right now. But they were too blind to see the present, only looking to the future. So, I made a secret vow to destroy and dethrone them when I became king. And so it was. I became king of the galaxy, where I realized the Prophecy Lord's true intentions. The plan was to shift focus of leadership onto a king, in case anyone got wise to them and tried to overthrow them. Little did they know, I had gotten wise a long time ago. They brought me to their planet to discuss what to do. But before we arrived, with my newfound power, I destroyed their homeworld of Irisal with a single wave of my hand. Ironic that they could not foresee their own demise. Perhaps it was meant to be. I called out to my people after that no one would live in fear of the future, that we would stride blindly yet bravely into what lies ahead and take our destinies for ourselves. It took time, but eventually they rallied behind me, and we established peace across the galaxy. There was but one last thing to do. The Prophecy Lords had given me one last prophecy, given to me by one of their own, on a finely printed parchment scroll. I should have destroyed it, but by some childish curiosity, I decided to read it, jokingly expecting it to be very misleading. What I saw shook me to my core. It stated that the arms of gods would tear us apart. That dragons from beyond the universe could save us, but only when a child from the Landstar finds themselves. This prophecy mentioned your Landstar a second time. I felt I could not ignore it. So I went against my own morals, my decrees, and kept a hold of the prophecy. Now, unfortunately, it seems that word has gotten out of what I've done. My people are calling to action once again. Except this time, they are challenging me. They believe I should be dethroned, and I am inclined to believe them. For what good is a king who does not stand behind his own principles? I have deceived my people, the people I have sworn to protect. All this power, but I swore never to use it against them. Tomorrow, I am to be removed from power and imprisoned for my crimes. I was going to accept this as my fate. But then I remembered the dragon we summoned upon the arms of Titanicus together. I remembered what that dragon said to me. That our fates are still undecided. That we can choose what we do. I feel I have been guided my whole life. Chosen for the death game. Crowned king. No more. And that is why I say with a heavy heart that despite all the tough decisions I have made as king, this is by far the toughest. Star Commander Solara, I request asylum on board your Landstar. I await your answer. As I write this, I ask myself, what will my people say? My advisors, my opponents? Well, I suppose I know that already. They will hate me. Say my removal from power is justice. Well, let them curse my name. On these blood-stained pages of misery, let them call me a tyrant so cruel. Yes, let them curse my name. But we will remember this truth. And we will forge ever onwards, unafraid and unburdened by our past mistakes. Signed, King Andromeda. P.S. By now you should realize that the child in the prophecy is you, Jens. Or should I say Solara? I want to thank you for your everlasting kindness that few have shown me. I also would like to apologize, first, on the loss of your trusted star captain Checo. He was a smart man, and clearly a close friend. And secondly, I'd like to apologize for my lack in manners when addressing you. I was convinced that your arrival would spark the end of everything I have built. While I was right, it was not fair to judge you as such. You have become something I have been missing for a long, long time. A friend. And I hope you can forgive me, my friend.